Hey community, this is Dr. Hugh coming at you again today, and I have an awesome webinar where I'm going to go over the labs and the treatment plan of a case of a client that had severe hypoglycemia, and she tried to go to many different doctors and no one could solve her problem. And this basically hypoglycemia was causing her lots and lots of different problems. So let me go into the case. I'm going to show you everything from A to Z. Exact treatment plan, protocols, supplements, exactly what we did. So if you're out there suffering and you have hypoglycemia, I'm going to let you know that you do not need to suffer with hypoglycemia. You just have to find a provider that actually knows what they're doing and can guide you through this process. So what exactly is hypoglycemia? Let me start with that first. So basically, it's when your blood sugar falls too low. Now, the sweet spot, and this is my sweet spot for my clients, I like their blood sugar. So hypoglycemia, or measuring your blood sugar, should be between 85 and 120 with or without food. So let me just say that again. Your blood sugar should be between 85 and 120 with or without food. Now, hypoglycemia is really anything less than, like, let's say 85, but clinically, when we talk about the medical system, they're talking about 70 or less. But really, what we want when we talk about optimal function is between 85 and 120. So if you're out there suffering with some kind of chronic condition, some kind of chronic problem, and you've never had your sugars checked, if you've never had an exact protocol to figure out if you have hypoglycemia or not, you need to rule this out. Now, when clients come to me, I kind of have this thing where I want to go over the low-hanging fruit. Well, what the heck does that mean? That means that you don't want to miss anything that's easy. And a hypoglycemic case is very, very easy to catch. Now, this client, she knew that she had hypoglycemia and she sought out medical treatment by a variety of different healthcare practitioners, and no one was successful with fixing her hypoglycemia. So let's kind of go over these general symptoms if you have a hypoglycemia. So the first thing could be that you're sweating a lot. You have chronic hunger. This is a common symptom of hypoglycemia. Blurred vision, dizziness, headaches, irritability, shaking, especially when you don't eat food, your hand starts to shake. Again, dizziness. Dysautonomia symptoms. So what the heck is dysautonomia symptoms? This is when your nervous system just starts to fire abnormally. And the reason why this is because you need glucose to supply energy. Now, within your cells, there's within one cell, there's between 500 and 2,000 mitochondria. And those mitochondria, that's where the glucose is consumed. So if you don't have enough glucose, if you're hypoglycemic, meaning you don't have enough sugar in your bloodstream, you're not going to have the energy for those mitochondria, and you're going to have an array of problems. Now, if you have some kind of dysautonomia, which is weird neurological symptoms, let's say you've had a concussion, you've had a traumatic brain injury, maybe you're older, in your 60s or 70s, and your brain's just not functioning well, and then on top of this you have hypoglycemia, you can have a lot of weird neurological symptoms that no one can ever explain what your symptoms are caused from. You've gone to test, you've gone to doctor, but guess what? No one does the basic simple things that I'm doing with my clients, and that's checking for ruling in or ruling out a hypoglycemic condition. So weakness, fatigue, and anxiety, all these are common symptoms of hypoglycemia. Now, if you've never checked to see if you have hypoglycemia and you have a chronic condition and you've gone to doctor with no results, check it. It's really, really simple, and you want to rule things out or rule things in or rule things out. This is what I tell my clients. Is there some basic fundamental things, the low-hanging fruit, that we want to rule in or rule out? All right, so I'm going to go over one of my clients here. So this is one of my clients that got phenomenal results. I'm going to go over her case, and so you can understand and learn from this. Now, she actually found me from basically a podcast that I did. So if you're out there suffering, I'll let you know that there's no need to suffer, especially if you go on to doctor. You need someone that's in your corner that actually knows what's going on. So somewhere, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're on my website, if you're on a YouTube channel, somewhere around here, there's going to be an opportunity for you to schedule a call, a Zoom call. I help people all over the United States, in fact, all over the world. And this lady found me through one of my podcast where I talk about hypoglycemia. So this is a very, very specific case. So her problems were, one, low blood sugar, obviously hypoglycemia. Weight gain, yes, even if you have hypoglycemia, you can gain weight. Thyroid nodules, and then hormones that are thrown off. So if you're in a state of hypoglycemia, nothing is going to work in your system at all. So you can take the most expensive supplements, you can go and get IV therapy, you can go get stem cell, you can get red light laser therapy, you can go to physical therapy. If you're in a chronic state of hypoglycemia, you're not going to get well, no, regardless on what you do. This is why when clients come to me, I have some basic fundamental things that we're always going to check for. And one is going to be hypoglycemia or even hyperglycemia. But in this case, this is going to be hypoglycemia because this is massively overlooked in the conventional system. All right, so what you're looking at right here is this is my website, right? So if you want more information on this, you just go to my website, which is basically drhughwegwerth.com. And then you'd want to type in this. What does a normal glucose response look like? And this is where I go over the in-depth explanation of how to measure your own sugar levels at home so you can know if you're in a hypoglycemic state. And I have lots of different blogs on this. In fact, as of right now, I have over 300 blogs on my website. Okay, now there's a couple ways to measure your sugar levels. Now, when I go over this client here, she actually had what they call here is to be a continuous glucose monitor, or a CGM, continuous glucose monitor. So you have this thing right here, you plug this right on your shoulder, and that's going to measure your sugar levels continuously every minute of the day. Now, you do not need to have this device to check your sugar levels, but she was very fortunate and she had this, so we were able to collect a lot of great data. And this is why I'm so excited to make this webinar, because the data is freaking awesome and the results that she got are awesome. So if you don't have a continuous glucose monitor, no problem. I'm going to go over really the quick and dirty how you want to check your sugar levels. So you go on Amazon, you buy a glucose meter, one for checking diabetes. They're like $20. You prick your finger, you're going to take a little prick of blood. Now, when you get up, you're going to check your blood sugars. Before you eat, you check your blood sugars. 30 minutes after you eat, 60 minutes after, and 2 hours after you eat, and then right before you go to bed. You do this for 5 days. You might be pricking your finger 15 times a day for 5 days, but you can rule this in or you can rule this out. And if you rule this in, then you got to handle this problem. Now, with my client here that we're going to be talking about, she knew that she already had a hypoglycemic condition, and she went to all these providers to try and get a solution, but she was always ending up in her hypoglycemic state or condition. So this right here is a down and dirty, and if you want more information about that, then you just real simply go to my website. There's going to be a search option on my website, and you just type in, what does a normal glucose response look like? And this is going to be pulled up. Okay, now she was so gracefully, she allowed me to show you some of these pictures of her readings here. And what you're looking at here, so it says here, you can see here, it says low glucose levels. And this is the date. So this is a 90-day glucose reading. You can see down here, it says 90 days. And this is of the continuous glucose monitor. And you can see right down here, you see 12 a.m., 6 a.m., and 12 p.m. So she has had, right? Want to use had, past tense. She was having a lot of sugar hypoglycemic spikes like during nighttime, 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., and then around noon. So this kind of gives you a 60-day window. Here's another great, these are daily readings that you can see here. So September 12th, 2024 and September 13th, 2024. Now, these were before she started any protocols or before she started working with me. Now, in here, you're going to see this kind of like this green area right in there, lime light, right, the lime area. Now, you can see down here where this lime area ends, that's 70. So in this case, anything below that line is below 70. Now, remember, I like it to be between 85 and 120. So she would actually have a lot more, quote, hypoglycemic spikes. Because what we're really looking for is when we try and normalize sugar levels, we're trying to look at what is the normal, healthy human being functioning at. 70 is way too low. But for this continuous glucose monitor, that's what was, 70 was the bottom of the barrel, right? Now you can see all this red in here. All these numbers here are when she's in a hypoglycemic state. Now, if you just kind of look at that, you can assume, just like looking at the graph there, that she's probably, on September 12th, I would say that she's probably anywhere, I would say a third. So a third of the time, her blood sugar is below 70, and then sometimes this reading was actually in the 60s. So that was on September 12th. Now let's go to the 13th. Now you can see here, red's bad. Red's 70 or below. And again, you can see here that throughout the whole entire day, I would say roughly a third of her readings are in a hypoglycemic state. So I just want to state this over and over again. Your body cannot heal in a hypoglycemic condition. And for $20, you can go on Amazon and get that glucose meter, and you can rule this in or rule this out. Okay, so this is a really powerful graph. So what we're looking at here is October 3rd through the 9th. So here she's been on the program probably for about 2 weeks. Now check this out. You see here 70 to 80. So all her readings are now between 70 and 180, and none of these were in the 80 range. They were really in relatively the sweet spot. She really never got over 100, 110. So she's had no spikes. She has no, I shouldn't say spikes, dips between here, which is 54 and 69. This is what you're looking at right here. All these red marks right here are this area right in here, 59 to 69. So you can see here, we did a protocol. She implemented the protocol, and there was a multitude of different things, and she's having no glycemic lows at all. So what do you think that's going to do to her mitochondria? Her mitochondria are getting consistent glucose, and now she's recovering. She's feeling better. She's doing the things that she wants to do. She has more energy. She's more awake. She's more vibrant. She's enjoying life much, much better because we got to the root cause of the problem and figured the problem out. So again, here you can see this right here. So this is the dates, right? So July 12th through the 9th, you can see all these red areas, red areas, red areas. These are the glucose levels that are less than 70, right? 69 or less. And you see there's tons of them. Then we have this whole week here. You see, so this is a whole week. Now she's been on the plan again for 2 weeks. What do you see? You see no low sugar levels. And here she was getting crushed by a hypoglycemic condition. Why? Because we implemented a very, very specific custom-tailored plan for her needs. It's not cookie cutter. It's nothing like that. We had a phone consultation. She filled out paperwork. We ran labs, and then we applied a very specific therapy for her to get better. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to kind of go over the lab testing. And then after we go over the lab testing, I'm going to go over the protocol so you understand what was going on, what we did to get her well. Okay, so let's go over this treatment plan right here. So I basically copy and paste and took out all of her personal information. So let me kind of go over this. So one of the things when clients come to me, they have to understand what's going on with their condition. You have to understand what's going on with your condition, no matter what kind of condition you are struggling with. So a big component of people getting well under my care is, one, it's a custom tailored program, but two, I have tons of content, tons of very specific information that they need to watch or you need to watch so you understand what's going on with your condition. So this is her treatment plan. Okay, I'm just going to kind of scroll through the whole thing, and then we'll kind of take it in bite-sized pieces so you can understand, what's happening. So what I like to do is people schedule a Zoom call. If they have labs over, they send the labs over. We get on the phone call. A person decides to move forward with care. Then we run labs. Now, before we get their labs back, I already have an idea of what needs to happen or take place. So I read up a custom plan, a tailored custom plan right away. So let's go over this right away. So first thing here, I wanted her to understand what the glycemic index was. So if we click that button right here, so this right here, one of the things I wanted her to do is I wanted her to learn or understand what the glycemic index is. So this is a very specific piece of content that she watched so she has an understanding of what we're doing. Okay, the next thing I wanted her to do is I wanted her to have some understanding of basically the hidden dangers of a gluten-free diet, because a lot of products that are gluten-free are actually, they have a high glycemic index. So here was a piece of content, and then we also talked about some content about, how does oatmeal, how does banana, how does orange juice affect your sugar levels? All these are things that are educational pieces to make sure people understand the principal foundations on why their blood sugar is dropping. Okay, another piece of content is I've been eating clean for months and still can't lose weight. That was a problem, is she wasn't, losing the weight that you would like to lose. One of the things that I did suggest is this product right here, which is what they call a keto brick here. And this one thing, I evaluated her diet, and there just wasn't enough fat in her diet. There wasn't enough fat. There wasn't enough protein. So I've used these things right here. It's called keto bricks, but basically what they are, they're just, you can see that picture right there. It's just a really thick brick of basically fat, because fat will normalize your sugar levels. So we had her watch that. We had her do a 28-day, basically a paleo diet. So we got off of all the junk food, all the processed food, and then I gave her some content, very specific content on what does it look like to have or to be in a state of a paleo diet. Next thing I wanted her to do is start eating just some more meats, like a carnivore-ish kind of diet or lifestyle. So I have a great video on my website about that. Actually, a couple videos right here on this. And then also another thing I was concerned about is her adrenal glands. So if your adrenal glands are weak, then you can also have a hypoglycemic condition. So I gave her some basically current research that provides information on how the adrenal glands, if you actually have weak adrenal glands, how that can cause hypoglycemia. Then we did some labs, right? So let me show you some really important labs that we did that really paint the picture that, again, everyone missed. Okay, so what you're seeing right here is the lab test. Now, this is a morning sample here. You can see the glucose, fasting, 56, way too low. Again, we want it like at 85 to 120. The morning would be great to see it around 85. So we just confirmed that there was hypoglycemia problems. Now, this is what I want to show you right here. A couple very significant findings that we found, and then how we applied this to our treatment plan. So this right here, you see this is insulin test right here. So insulin is the hormone that's produced by your pancreas, and this will take sugar and pound it or put it into your cells. So if you have an elevated insulin level, which in fact she did, you can see here is 24. You can see the range here is 2.6 to 24.9. So what does this tell me? That tells me that her pancreas is spitting out massive amounts of insulin, and it shouldn't. So if you have an overactive pancreas spitting out too much insulin, that's going to pound the sugar. It's going to put your sugar from your bloodstream into your cells, and then it's going to lower your blood sugar. So then you're going to have a hypoglycemic condition. Now, the second part of our treatment plan, we also handled this through some home physical medicine, and I'll show you how we did this. So this is very bad. You do not want to see high insulin levels when you have a hypoglycemic condition. Then the next thing is I wanted to check her adrenal glands, because I was almost certain that she was going to be in a state of adrenal fatigue, or where your adrenals really aren't robust. You need good adrenal health to support normal sugar levels. So let me kind of orient you to what you're looking at right here. So you can see right here is you see the red right here, the red's high and the red's low. Now, the green is where perfect normal adrenal function will be, and then the dots is where she is. Now, this is a test. It's a saliva test. It's very simple, and we checked 6 times a day. So you can see here she's really low in her cortisol in the morning. This is 6 a.m. in the morning. Now, if you remember, on that testing that we did, where was she having the most hypoglycemic spikes? And that was between noon and 6 a.m. Well, guess what's happening between noon and 6 a.m. when it comes to our adrenal glands? They're shot. They're horrible. They're not very well, right? So this is the morning one. Then it kind of jumped up, and then it went down. And then down here, we have 3 other cortisol readings, and they're all on the low end. So right there, we know right away that her adrenal glands are not functioning well. That's going to be one factor in many factors in getting to the root cause of the problem. Okay, so let's get on to this here. So these were the research studies here on poor adrenal glands and hypoglycemia. She was eating some beef jerky, so I wanted her to start redoing that, starting eating more beef jerky. And these are just some things on my website. This specific more kind of content. Now, this right here, this whole portion right here is what we call physical medicine. Now, couple things with this is right here is a physical medicine. So one of the things is we wanted to do a dietary modification. And what I suggested is that she needs to eat 150 grams of protein a day, meat and fruits without seeds. That was the diet for basically it's going to be the diet between 6 to 8 weeks. Now, when you start to normalize your blood sugars, then you can add more things in. But this is really stabilizes the blood sugar levels, and a meat diet and a fruit diet without eating the seeds. So what would that be? So raspberries have seeds, strawberries have seeds, where an apple, the apple core has the seeds. Well, you don't eat those seeds, right? So you can get rid of the seeds very, very easy. So we had her start to do that. That was a big change. Then also too, this is all physical medicine stuff. Like this isn't supplement, this is dietary changes. Next thing, bedtime. Before she goes to bed, she must eat a protein and a fat snack. No carbs. Why? Because carbs will cause your sugar levels to spike, and then when they spike, guess what? They drop drastically. So no carbs before she goes to bed. Only protein and a fat source. This was big. This was huge. So you can see here, when clients come to me, it's a polytherapy approach. Poly means many. It's not a monotherapy approach. In order for you to get well, to recover from any chronic condition, you need a polytherapy approach, meaning polytherapy, many different therapies geared towards your physiology, your God-given physiology, not someone else's, not cookie cutter, but what you specifically need. Then down in here, this whole section right here was geared towards functional medicine. Now, the gut is not well. Like her pancreas is spitting out way too much insulin. It's not that she was overeating. It was just spitting out too much insulin. So what can we do? There's a couple things here. If you go to my website and just type in Chi Machine, I had her do a Chi Machine at home. Very simple. These are physical medicine things that you do at home. So we had her do the Chi Machine, and then we had her do this massager around her gut. So it's a vibration gun that massages the gut. Why? Because I'm thinking, what kind of stimulation can we put into the gut, put into the pancreas that's going to kind of give the pancreas more nerve flow, more energy, more communication, so it realizes and it wakes up, hey, maybe I don't need to produce this much insulin, right? So we did these two things, physical medicine, and then on top of that, we did red light therapy. Amazon for $80, you can buy a red light therapy like wrap. So I had her wrap this around her stomach and around her back. Why? We're trying to get red light therapy into the pancreas and start to normalize the gut function, normalize the information going to the pancreas, so then we can start to decrease the amount of insulin that pancreas is spitting out, on top of changing the diet. So she's not eating any processed foods, anything that has a high glycemic index, which is just a fancy word for saying that your insulin levels are going to spike. So all this stuff right here is physical medicine. That doesn't have to do with any supplements at all. Now, we started slowly, right? Start with supplements slowly, and I'm going to go over what we did. We added basically 4 supplements, easy supplements. So on my website, I have a whole bunch of stuff on magnesium. So we added magnesium. And this is a magnesium powder where you sip this the whole entire day. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a scoop or 2 of magnesium in this 64-ounce container of water. You sip that the whole entire day. Your body, magnesium is needed in over 400 enzymatic reactions in your body. So if you're magnesium deficient, your mitochondria are not going to work. Your mitochondria are heavily reliant on magnesium to get the energy and to function properly. So we did magnesium, and then in that same drink, we use a fiber supplement. Now, why fiber? Because the research shows is fiber normalizes your sugar level, so you don't go too low or go too high. So it's a powder. So you mix the magnesium, you mix the fiber powder, and then on top of that, we had her do some electrolytes. Why? Because if you're in a hypoglycemic condition, you're just not holding on to electrolytes. So then we had her also add, this is a powder, into this mixture. And you sip this the whole entire day. Then finally here, I also added some products right here. which were for the adrenal glands, to give the adrenal glands some needed energy so they can start to function better and heal better. So you can see all these different things here. We did a polytherapy approach to reverse her condition, right? Now, she's tried many, many different providers, but no one came up with a very specific guided plan. Now, when I look at this plan, it's pretty simple and straightforward, but the reality of it is there's like 25 years of education to figure out what needed to be done. So getting sick people well, I don't think is difficult. You just need to go to a provider that has a big enough toolbox that can figure out what your problem actually is and why you're not healing. And you never, never, never want to skip over a hypoglycemic condition. And then also, when clients come to me, I record my screen just like I'm doing right here so they understand what's going on. I walk through it. And then also I do a summary of all these different things right here. So diet, right? We wanted to do a low glycemic index. So she needed to get herself educated on what the glycemic index is. We started incorporating good healthy fats, omega-3, coconut oil, ghee butter. That was some other things that we talked about in the custom video that I created for her. Not everything here that we went over is all written out right here, but it's in this explanation right here. We went over meals, how she had to eat 6 meals a day. She had to incorporate more fats. When I looked at her past diet, guess what? She wasn't eating enough fat. So if you're not eating enough fat, your sugar levels can drop and they can go high, a hypoglycemic condition or a hyperglycemic condition. I had her start keeping a food journal for me. We want to manage the hypoglycemia spikes. And then right here, this is the physical, basically medicine portion. So a lot of my program, when people come to me, there's a big portion that doesn't have to do anything with supplements. It's dietary and lifestyle modification, things that you can do at home. Like what's your blood pressure? What's your sugar levels, right? The Chi machine. Red light therapy. Maybe you need to do some gut massage. Maybe you need to do some sinus clearing because you have this chronic sinus infection that's going on. So you have to do the physical medicine before you get supplements. Now, I've been in practice 25 years, and before it was all supplements. That's not senior. Supplements are not the most important thing. It's actually the physical medicine component, and then the supplements support the physical medicine, and then you can start to recover. God designed you to be healthy. If you have a very specific functional medicine program, you are going to get better. It's just you work with the laws of Mother Nature and not against. Okay, so this was another video I did, part 2. So we're going to work on proteins, good healthy fats. Also, 2 fruits. That was the key thing. We started working on her gut with the massage gun. We did red light therapy. And then we started to do the IV mixtures, the adrenal support, and basically it was a step-by-step program on how we're going to get her better, and she got well. So I hope you found value in this. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. And remember, where there's help, there's hope. Take care. This is Dr. Hugh. Bye-bye.